Okay. Hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well, and I'd like to welcome you all to new episode of the Journey to Healthcare. And today our episode is going to be all about the field of paramedicine. Today I have Glenn Ryan here with us, who's a paramedic, and it's going to be a great episode. I'm very confident about that. So would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. So my name's Glenn Ryan. I'm a ACP2 paramedic, work for QAS in Queensland. And essentially my role is pre-hospital care in Queensland as a paramedic, registered paramedic. So, yeah.
Lovely. Would you like to tell us what is paramedicine?
Yeah, well, where do you start? I guess essentially paramedicine is providing support in the pre-hospital setting. This includes both medical and psychological support for anyone who might be in acute care. Essentially my role in an ACP2 role is acute responses. And that can be anything from cardiac arrest to AMIs, asthma attacks, COPD exacerbations, croup for pediatrics. And then you've got your anaphylaxis, overdoses, and then a wide range of mental health involved in that as well. So essentially that's the aspects that we pretty much cover. Yeah.
Interesting. So what are your expected roles on like day-to-day basis? What would you expect to?
Yeah. Like, I guess in terms of expected roles, like my role as an ACP2 is that acute response. So normally we work in pairs. So it might be myself and another ACP2. It could be myself and say a graduate who's going through the graduate program, which can be either 6 or 12 months, depending on what state or territory you're in within Australia. And with that, we could also have a student on board as well. So with the university system, they have students which need, I guess, experience on road. So which makes up part of their curricula. So that's my role, my expected role, I guess. But sometimes we also have operational demands where we might be stretched. So we could be finding ourselves on a truck by ourselves. So it's just us running around. But then you've also got different ranks within each ambulance service. So it usually starts from like a patient transport perspective first, who deal with, I guess, your lower acuity and just take patients from like dialysis back to home or those type of roles. Then you've got your ACP ones, and then you've got your ACP twos, which is sort of what I fall into. Then you've got your more specialist roles. So your low acuity response who can deal with like stitches and stuff like that. And then you've got mental health clinicians who primarily their role is to go and sort the mental health patients and see if we can find a solution for them that's outside the hospital where we don't have to clog up the hospital system. Then you've got your CCPs or your micers, you might hear them called. Depending on what state service you're in, they get called different things. But they're our lifeline. So if there's something that I need that's a high intervention, I'll call a CCP to come or a micer to come. Then you've got the next tier, which is like your top of your tier, which is your HARU or your flight paramedics. So they're the types that will be able to carry blood products if it's a major trauma or something along those lines. But yeah, in terms of your day-to-day, it could be anything. We could be turned up to, you don't know. It could be a pediatric, it could be a geriatric, it could be a bariatric. Each day is different, and I guess that's what makes the job so exciting. Yeah.
It seems like a job that is like very, very busy. Like, can't imagine.
Yeah, it can be. That's for sure. Yeah.
I'm just like to know, so that when you work, do you like have always like one specific area, or do you rotate in different area, like in one state?
Yeah, so we stay in the state. So we're employed by essentially the Queensland government. which is the state of Queensland within Australia. So we then have regions that we're in. So my region is sort of West Moreton region, which is within the South Metro area of Brisbane. And then we're sort of split into different districts in that way. And they try and keep us to those districts. But if we have a patient in my area that requires, like say it's a multi-trauma or something, and they need specialist interventions at a higher tertiary hospital, then we'll have to go into Brisbane for that. And then once we're in Brisbane, we essentially become part of Brisbane's catchment. And then if they've got high priority jobs that are like going in Brisbane, then we'll have to stay and help service them within their catchment until we finish our shift.
All right, interesting. So
yeah.
So like, why did you choose paramedicine? Classic question.
Yeah, the classic question. and you could probably ask 1,000 different people this question, and you'll probably get different answers. I think the one thing that you'll generally get is people who do this job, their first instinct is that they just want to help people. I think that's an overwhelming consensus for most people who get into this job. For me, I feel it feels my purpose. Because I want to be in a job where I can impact other people and help them. I guess the industry itself, it's constantly evolving. There's always something new to learn. I'm a type of person who likes to learn new things all the time. I'm very inquisitive. I like to know things. I don't want to sort of inform someone of something and not know the facts. So that's, I guess, a personality trait for me. And I guess it provides me a really good work-life balance as well. So I work essentially 6 months of the year and I'm off 6 months of the year. So just the way that our rostering is scheduled. So I sort of make it work for myself with my work-life balance as well.
Seems like it checks all the boxes. And I think it's very important, the role of paramedic, because you are like the first person in someone's crisis, whether it's physical or even mental health, as you said. So I think like that role is very, very important, because you are literally going to be the first person helping the,
yeah, you're right. And generally, like when we do arrive on scene, it's people don't generally call an ambulance because they're having a great day or they've just won the lotto and they want to let someone know it's their worst day. So for us to turn up on someone's worst day and try and have a positive impact for that person, I think it's a very unique job. Yeah.
I'm just curious, have you always wanted to go into healthcare since you were younger, or like? Yeah,
not really, to be honest. I think like I'm 32 now, turning 33 this year. My background, I guess, involves nothing medical. My background has always been, I guess, sport. From sport, I then went into carpentry, so like building houses and stuff like that. I was a bit more of a tradie, is what we call in Australia. And from there, I then went into the health and fitness space, managing venues and aquatic centres throughout Victoria up to Queensland. So I never done anything that was medical at all. It was just, I guess, something that piqued my interest and something that I thought that I'd be able to do well in, and I was really interested in. So I think if you've got that combination of you're interested in something and you've got a passion for it, you'll do well no matter your background or your skill set. So yeah,
that is actually very brilliant, because there's always a common stereotype that any form of healthcare field, you have to like, that typical answer, like since I was 5 years old, I wanted to be X, whatever. So it's good to know that actually having other interests as well makes you more of a well-rounded person in order to pursue a certain field. And especially when you talked about passion, because if you like something, whatever difficulties you'll get and obstacles, you will be able to overcome it because you enjoy that thing and you'll be able to do well at it. But if something you don't like, you face obstacles, you may be like, oh, maybe not today.
Yeah, that's definitely right. Like throughout our studies, like there were some people that I was in contact with, and their parents were in the medical field and stuff like that, and they just didn't have that same motivation. Like everything seemed to be extrinsic motivation for them because they wanted to please their parents or they wanted to please their family members that are around them. Whereas I'll see the people who seem to stay on that path are more intrinsically motivated, where it comes from within and they want to feel something for themselves. So yeah, definitely that intrinsic motivation definitely outweighs that extrinsic motivation in the long run is what I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. So if in order to become a paramedic, what's the course like university
Yeah,
aspect?
yeah. So I guess within Australia, it's a registered profession. So you can't sort of walk around and say that you're a paramedic without being registered, just like I guess you can't go around saying you're a doctor. So it's the same kind of principle. So yeah, you need to be registered under APRA, and then you've got to have completed a 3-year bachelor's degree, and it can be either titled Bachelor's of Paramedicine, or it can be titled a Bachelor of Paramedic Science. So they're the two sort of terms that are used. It normally goes for 3 years, which is in a university, it's slightly different numbers in terms of practical experience. So some universities do 12 weeks, others do 20, and some fall sort of somewhere in between of actual on-road experience. And that's usually liaised with the state-based ambulance service. So if you're in Victoria and you're doing university in Victoria, it will usually be liaised with Victorian Ambulance Service, or vice versa for New South Wales, same for Queensland, so on and so forth, with all the different states within Australia. And I guess from that, I guess the subject matter that we learn. So we learn everything from your basic anatomy and physiology, all the way through to your pharmacology, which includes your pharmacokinetics and all that stuff. You then also look at your trauma. You look at law, your evidence-based practice. So you learn how to actually research properly and what's involved in good research articles. You also look at mental health, how to deal with mental health and psychopharmacology as well within that. Then you've also got your leadership skills, how to be a good leader, how to be a good follower as well. And then also you're looking at your vulnerable populations. So your Indigenous communities, you're looking at your elderly, so your obstetrics, like the full vulnerable populations that we would encounter. Within that, we then have exams, we also have OSCEs, and we also have BEVAs, in addition to our assessments and practical tasks.
It seems like quite all rounded, and it's interesting that the research module, because I think that is very important, especially since like many things are changing really, really fast in the medical arena, if you want to say that. So yeah, I think that's really a good thing. Yeah. All right. So as a paramedic, what's your favorite part of your job? If you can pick
my
one.
favorite part of the job, it's tough. Like for me, it definitely fits with my personality, I guess. Like I love the fact that I can walk into someone's home, and most of the time we're welcomed. Very rarely are we met by not too happy people, but generally we're welcomed into someone's home without them, giving a second thought to us coming into their own home. So I always keep that as a privilege, and just being able to make someone happy, or at least try and provide some kind of positivity to someone when they're probably at their darkest hour, is something that I cherish as well. And then meeting new people, like you get to meet someone new pretty much every single day you go to work. And some of the stories that you hear from some of the people are just, you learn a lot about different people, whether they're from a high socioeconomic area or whether they're from a low socioeconomic area. just the stories that people have, I guess it humbles you quite a fair bit. So
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what is your least favorite part of being a paramedic?
Oh, I haven't probably established anything yet that I don't really like. What I've I've witnessed from others as something that they don't, that sort of grinds their gears or doesn't really, they like too much. And I often see burns them out, is probably to do with the operational side of things or the organizational side of things, and the requirements of, admin or just completing boxes that need to be ticked for requirements, or organizational needs. They're the things that I think if you focus too much on, it'll burn you out really quick. And you'll lose sight of why you're doing the job that you want to do very quick. So I try not to focus on that much too much. I just sort of look at it and go, yep, that's just boxes that I need to tick in order to keep doing the job that I'm doing. So as long as I'm keeping that perspective, I don't think I'll be burning out in that sense. So that's the only thing that I've really noticed that people get burnt out for. So or is their least favorite part of the job.
Yeah, paperwork is like a global problem. Every field.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite part? Paperwork. It's quite demanding and takes a lot of time from doing the thing that you actually want to do. So it's a bit.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like that's probably up there with my least favorite. Like I'm dyslexic, so reading, writing is not my strength by any means. So having the admin side of it, that's probably something that I find is more of a challenge, but I wouldn't say it's something that I least like. But it's part of the job. Like I knew that going into it, so there's no use whinging about it.
Exactly. So now to wrap this up, if someone watching is an aspiring paramedic, what would you like to tell him or her?
What was that? Sorry?
If to wrap this up, if someone watching this is a paramedic, aspiring paramedic, sorry, what would you like to tell him or her?
Aspiring. Yeah, so if someone's aspiring to be a paramedic, there's quite a bit that I can pass on, I guess. The main tips that I would have, like I've done a post on my socials for each sort of year of their university studies, as to what things that they should be focusing on to get the best out of their studies. But in essence, if I can break it down into a few things, I think it would be making sure that your time management is on point, because that will set you up for your whole degree. Find out, because it is at university, you do need to study. So having an idea of how you work best studying. So are you a tactile learner? Are you someone who listens like through audio? Are you able to jot things down? Are you a writer? Like find out what learning style is best for you, and then keep going with that once you've found the right one. In addition to that is find groups that are like-minded people, because I find that if you're surrounded by a lot of people who are like-minded, you're able to bounce ideas off each other, and it just adds to that learning environment. And you see a lot more results that way than trying to do it all by yourself. Another thing I'd say would be seeking help. It's not really a weakness. If anything, it's a strength to be able to identify where you're lacking and trying to improve. So definitely seeking help if it's needed. Put the work in, because it's true, you only get what you put out, like what you put into it. So if you put the work in, you'll see the results. Understand where you are in your development as well. And it's okay to not be where you are, where you want to be. It's okay. So, and just knowing that it's okay to be like that, I think is key as well. Because you can always strive for more. Ask questions. If you don't know something or someone's teaching you something and you don't quite understand it, don't be afraid to put your hand up and just say, hey, can you repeat that again, or can you go over that again? Because you'd much rather understand it than trying to wing your way through it and try and guess. So yeah, definitely ask questions, because at the end of the day, people will forgive you if you're asking silly questions, but they won't forgive you if you do something silly because you didn't ask that silly question. So always keep that in the back of your mind.
I absolutely love that. I feel like the last sentence should be like really into all the university students, especially like in the healthcare field. Like if you ask questions, people won't get as angry as like when you actually do something wrong because you didn't ask a question. But it's just
like
yeah.
People will forgive you if you ask a silly question, but yeah, doing something silly because you don't ask that silly question, then that's it's a different matter. So definitely ask those silly questions.
Yeah, golden advice. Thank you.
100%.
Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this a lot, and I've learned a lot because I learned a lot of things about the field and the roles and all that. So it's been really, really lovely, and thank you for being here with us today.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. Always happy to help out. If anyone needs any questions or anything, definitely shoot me a message. More than happy to help. Yeah,
you could check out his Instagram handle at your Paramedic Mentor. It has all things about paramedicine. It's a really great account.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope you have a lovely day.
You too.